Good morning, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar, Product Family Management in Windchill. My name is Carolina Hägg, and I will be your co-host and technical support. And hosting today will be Anders Kullenberg.
Hey everybody, my name is Anders Kullenberg. I'm working at PDS Vision as a PLM consultant and have been for some time now. And I've had the opportunity to work with option and variants and configurable products in these different customer implementations. So that's why I'm here today, and I'm going to talk a little bit about product family management in Windchill for you guys. So the agenda for today, I'll give a quick background, dive in a little bit to the configuration concepts we have within option and variants as a recap, then describe the product family capabilities. And of course, the highlight of today is the demonstration. And in the end, as Carolina mentioned, we will have a Q&A. So, quick into the background then. So the area is configurable products, and that can be quite challenging to manage. You need capabilities to build your different building blocks that you have. That defines your different solutions. You need to be able to put these building blocks together to a complete solution. You need to have some sort of a mechanism to manage the configuration of all these building blocks into the specific variants you have. And all of this is managed with option and variants in Windchill. And I will give you a quick recap, as I mentioned, about that, and also quickly demonstrate it. But that's not enough, right? You also need to get an overview of your product offering. Today, the variability in products is steadily increasing, and you need to keep track on that offering, have that overview, and plan for the future. Do you have any gaps in your variants? Electrification is, of course, something that is driven, as an example today, for companies who have internal combustion engines. They need to switch to electric engines and so on. So you need to evolve your product offering, giving more capabilities like that. So with product family, you have those capabilities. You can organize your variants into a structure and give you an overview. What you also need, of course, is when you have all this in place, you don't want this to be stop you in your early design phases. You need some sort of a flexibility early on when you prototype stuff and try out different solutions and so on. Even if the end result is a configurable product. So that's also something that is part of the product family capabilities within Windchill. So quickly into a quick recap about option and variants then, and the different concepts we have. So we have something we refer to as modules, and these are the building blocks I mentioned before. So it's a collection of components that you put together. That is a variant stable collection, we usually call it. So all the different modules you have that put together will generate your product offering, your different variants. We have the 150% BOM or overpopulated BOM, configurable BOM. It has many names. That's where we put together the different modules, all of them in a structure that we will use later on to generate variants. We have controls, and in Windchill this is called an option set, where we have option and choices and rules that define how these options and choices can be combined. And these controls are assigned with so-called assigned expressions to the 150% BOM. And this together then gives us the capability to generate variant specification, the recipe of a configuration, and in the end generate the actual configuration, the, if we call it the 100% BOM, the specific BOM for that given variant. And I will quickly show you this in the demonstration as well. But the topic of the day is the product family capabilities, of course. And there are some things here that I want to quickly drive before I demonstrate it. So we have the family structure, and this is a structure which you define according to your products. In Windchill, it's you build it up of model and model groups and so-called managed variant specification. So you get this organization of your different product offering. Then we have manual selection capability. So on top of being able to configure a variant, you also can manually select different modules that you want in your variant. And this is, to give you flexibility early on, as I mentioned in the development process. You don't have to have all the option and controls and rules and so on in place. And you can, of course, combine the two using both the option and choices that you might have from a carryover product together with the manual selection. And then we also have a matrix editor where you can open a number of variants together and compare them, get a good overview. And this is not only a tool where you compare, you can also work with your variants and reconfigure and select and so on. And that's the portion of the demonstration as well. So demonstration then, we'll dive directly into that. And I've heard that there are some participants today who's new to Windchill. So quickly, this is Windchill. I'm using this in Chrome today. So it's a web-based solution where you only need a browser to do the majority of your actions. I'm logged in as an administrator here, so I have access to all the functionality. Windchill has a role-based GUI, so depending on what type of role you have, the GUI will adapt to that, and you will only have access to the functionality that you're supposed to use in your role. And there is, of course, access to data that is controlled by roles and so on as well. But for this demonstration, I'm an administrator. I will use this snowmobile as a data set for the demonstration. And here we're looking at the 150% BOM, the configurable structure of this snowmobile. If I expand this, you will see that this is built up of different modules. So we have a chassis module, and we have a rear suspension, a front suspension, etc. And that consists of different variant stable solutions below it, like this. And here we see the assigned usage expression. This is how we combine the structure with the controls, the option set of for this specific product. So we have a chassis option with different choices in it. I will quickly show you the option set as well. So we have a bunch of options. Below those, we have these choices as you saw before, put together like this. And then we also have different types of rules that you can define how different choices can be selected. For instance, here we have an include rule that states that if I select the low black windshield, the handguards will be selected true automatically for me. That's how you can control the configuration. So I'll go back to the structure, and I'll quickly do a configuration of this solution as well, so you get a grip on how that will work. So you have a configuration wizard that you can run through. I have an option filter, and here you again recognize these options and the different choices. So if I run through this, select different versions or choices for my different, oops, sorry. There we go. So here you see when I selected the low black windshield, the handguards are selected automatically. And that's due to the rule that I showed you before. So this is how you get system support to configure your variant like that. So this will create a variant specification, as I mentioned. So this is the recipe. In this case, the configuration I just did has not been done before, so the system will not find an existing variant specification. So I'll create one. I'll just call it test. And it also searches for the actual bomb structure, the resulting structure based on that variant, and that does not exist as either, because this configuration has not been created before. So I get a variant specification like this with all the different option choices I selected, and this will of course also have a structure related to it. It'll take a little bit time here to visualize this. I can take the opportunity to mention that this is an area where we see new functionality coming. There is something called visualization fidelity that has been introduced. So you can control the fidelity of the visualization and thus speeding up the visualization here. It's not implemented in the system, so it takes a little bit of time to display this. There are also more capabilities coming in coming versions eventually. So now you can see we have filtered down and generated a variant for this specific configuration quite quickly. So that's the basic capabilities within optional variants. But I'll jump into the product family portion of the demonstration. So you can see here you have a quick link to product families. I'm in the snowmobile product, and I get to the product family tab. And here we can see a table. In this product, we have two different families. So it's you can create multiple families in the system, but I'll use the snowmobile family here for the demonstration purposes. So we have a product family that has a structure beneath it. So with the product family on top, and then we have a product model group here. Below that, we have a product model, and below that, we have variant specification. And in this case, it's actually called a managed variant specification. So there are some differences with this specifications that I'll come back to and demonstrate. All these objects are like many other objects in Windchill. It's a life cycle managed object, and the attributes, the properties you define for these objects is something that you configure in the system, and we can as a subtype these object types, as it's called. So I can create different types of them. In this case, I'm showing the snowmobile. So there could be, if this company were to manufacture quad mobiles as well, we could have a different type used for the snowmobile and the quad mobile. And why would we do that? Well, here we as I mentioned, we have attributes, and the set of attributes is something we can configure and define according to the different types we have. So here we have the opportunity to add properties of different variants that is a result of the configuration, not the actual configuration itself. As an example, if you were a car manufacturer, you might have, you have a cabriolet version, which is a two-seater. You have a sedan car, which is a four-seater, and you might have a van or a people carrier, which might have more seats. So the number of passengers that those different models were capable of having is not actually a result, or it's not an input in your configuration, but it's still a capacity you want to document somehow, right? So then you could store that as attributes on the variant spec or on the different product family objects types here. So this is fully configurable. And the structure, how in this example, we have the product family on top, one model group, and then a model below that. This is, of course, something that is completely up, that you define based on your product needs. So you could put an additional model group in a model group, so to speak. So the depth of this structure or the number of branches and so on, that's something that is defined completely according to your product family. Now then, to the variant specification, and I created one for you guys before in the configuration process. So, but when you work in a product family, this is a little bit different. So I create a new variant specification from here instead. Let's call that like this. Okay. So now I've created a new variant specification, and I didn't have to run through the configuration process as you see. It's here. So that means that if I'm early on in a development project, I can create my variant specification up front. I can give them the different properties in attribute values and so on. So I can plan my different variants I need to have, right, before I have the final solution and all the option and choices and so on. I have the option filter here. As of now, I haven't selected any options, but I could do that as well, right? But I'll get back to that later. So it's a completely different process when I create variant specifications in the context of a product family like this. So if I go and look at this specific variant specification now that I've created. So I haven't done any selection when it comes to the option filter. That is completely empty for now. And that means that, of course, the system will show me the complete product offering. Every module in this. That looks wrong. Sorry about that. I'll refresh the screen. It will show the full offering, so to speak, all the different modules that are available. So if I expand the structure here, okay. Sorry about that. We'll do it this way. Since I did a configuration before, only the modules from that configuration has been pre-selected. That's why it's not showing up the complete product offering. That's a bad selection on my part. But now you see it's populating the full visualization here. So if I expand the different model levels here, you can see, like we did before. Sorry for the here. The different modules that you might recognize from the previous configuration. So we have the different chassis again, the different suspension, etc. But what I have here now is, I'm sorry about the delay. I'm not sure why this is, usually this is quicker. There we go. So I have my structure, I have my different modules, and when I have a managed variants specification like this that is created within the product family area, I have this additional tab where I can manually select different modules instead. So in this case, I have no option filter. That means that based on the filter, it will give me all the modules. But if I don't want that, and I'm not sure, I might not have options available and so on, I can use the manual selection like this. So I want the ProRide chassis. I'll select that. It switches to this manual selection radio button, and I also get an icon here in the structure indicating that, okay, this module is configured through manual selection. And I can do this. I can run through the configuration this way instead. So I'll go through the different portions of my module here. I'll skip some of the systems because they only have a single solution. I know that. For the engine, I want the 850, for instance. I'll skip the body system, electrical system. I want to look at the accessories. And bars, I don't want bars at all. That means that instead of selecting a module, I can just click the manual selection here, and that will be excluded completely. For the windshield module, I want maybe sorry, I clicked the wrong, the mid-smoke seats. I'm gonna keep that as is. Tracks, I want the Cobra 1.6. And if I look at the handguards, yeah, I don't want anything there. So I can go back to the visualization now. So basically what I've done here, I've configured this variant completely manual without using any of the options. And that's doable. And of course, in an early stage, this gives a high level of flexibility compared to being forced to define all your different this is messing with me a little bit today. I'm sorry for that. So I'm not, obliged to have the different option and choices available for this. I can just select the modules manually like this. Yeah. So this is correct. So you can see it's only one suspension now and so on. So now I'll see the product as I've configured it. The saddlebags here, I don't want them. That threw me off a little bit. So I must have overlooked something here. So I'll quickly go back and check that. Yeah, I didn't want those to be included. So I'll do another selection like that. Move back to the visualization, and now it should be without saddlebags. There we go. So this is the manual selection portion of this. And this is of course possible to combine the both. You might have a portion of carryover that you still want to drive through selection. So if I, for instance, go back here to the option filter and I'll select the low bulk windshield, and that will, as I showed you before in the configuration, select the handguards. So I get that stored. And if I go back to the windshield here, we can see now, looking at the modules slide here, that if I go back to the expression evaluation based selection, it will only select the one module instead of whatever I have manually selected. So I'll go back to that instead. And the visualization will update accordingly. So this gives me a flexibility to configure variants using both the standard option filter, but also manually select what I want to include in this configuration. enough about that. Back to the family. So we had another capability called the matrix editor, and I'll quickly show you that as well. So when I open that, I can see here on the left the structure of the different variants I have, and I can select, the variants I want to compare. In this case, I'll just compare the switchback result model, and where we have three variant specs, the one I just created, but also two that was there from before. So I'll click apply here and expand this so we get down to the module level. So what do we get here? Yeah, we get a matrix with the variants, one per each column, and on the left we'll see again the structure with the different modules. And in the matrix we have different icons here showing up. So we have a normal tick like this. This means it's selected based on the option filter. So we can see which different choices has made in the different variants. Looking at the variant specification I created, we can see there is a small mark here, and that means that this is selected based on manual selection like this. So this gives us a good overview, and we can see, for instance, we can see here that we have no variants using the 600 or 700 engines. So that might be a gap in our offering as it is right now. We also see that the mountain bars is not included in any variant. So do we need a variant including that, or is that a design solution which maybe we should consider not having and so on? So this gives us a good overview like this. But you can also work with your configuration from this view. So if we move back to the windshield we had before, as you remember, I selected the low black using the option filters. That is shown here. But maybe I want to, do a different selection. So if I right click, I can do a manual selection directly from this matrix. So, and that means that I now have both the wind shields selected, manually selected like this. And, this way I can select all the windshields as well. So this actually gives us the possibility to do a multi-spec configuration as well, which would be using the ordinary configuration process. You have some limits there, but with this way you can create a multi-spec, and of course you can create the configuration context and open this in your CAD tool as well, as we have shown in earlier webinars. So we have the possibility to use the matrix editor as a configuration tool as well. And if I want to go back to the option filter I had, I can simply right click and go back to that. So I'm back to the configuration I had before. So that's what I aim to demonstrate for you folks today. So I've gone through the family structure, how you create and define your structure that you can organize your different variants in. I've created a managed variant specification, gone through the manual selection steps, which is a more flexible way to configure. And I quickly showed you the matrix editor that can give you an overview of your different variants and also assist you in your configuration. So that was about it, which will take us back to the question answer sessions, I believe.
Yes. So we have a couple of questions. We will start with a question from Henrik. Is it possible to set restrictions on the manual choices you have?
No, not to my knowledge. In the manual selection, you can select whichever module you want. So the restriction is connected to the option set and the option filtering capabilities.
And we have another here. Is it possible to add existing variant specifics to the product family structure?
Yes. So if you have created variant specifications using the ordinary configuration process, you can add those to a model. So you can instead of creating a new one, select finding an existing one, and so you can organize existing pre-existing variant specifications in your product family.
Nice. And then we have one from Isaac. Isaac, how does this tie into web configurators where customers or salespeople can configure variants for quotations?
Yeah. For that, usually there are different CPQ offerings, tacked on, etc., where where the sales portion of the configuration is done, and there you have some different capabilities, pricing, and so on, and those tools generate a sales bomb or a feature bomb, and that of course needs to tie into Windchill. So we have done integrations to those tools for some customers with Windchill. So you use the CPQ tool to generate your order, or when you buy the product, that is then sent to Windchill, where we generate a variant specification based on that input, and resolve the BOM for that specific order. So that's how we integrate the CPQ systems.
And we have a question here that is a bit off topic, but it's regarding those two known methodologies, CAD-driven versus top-down. Is the balance 50-50, or does it hang more heavily on one of these parties? And is it possible slash comfortable to use both in the same time from an enterprise perspective?
That's a really good question.
Mhm.
Well, in my opinion, we had a webinar earlier this year showing new capabilities within Windchill called dynamic positioning. Historically, the CAD-driven configuration has been used because that has been the only way to get a fully positioned and fully, to visual representation of your product that you could use for packaging scenarios or whatever. But from my perspective, new capabilities are emerging in the PLM system, and I see a sway towards the more top-down approach, where you have integrations to CPQ and so on as well. You can combine the both, but I think moving forward, we're going to see much more top-down implementations taking over from the CAD-driven bottom-up version. I hope
And
that's an answer to the question, right?
yeah, can we get maybe a thumbs up on that one, maybe? But the the next question is, can the selections be made using external rules influenced by calculations, for example?
Yeah, that would be, if you, depending on what's meant with external rules, but for sure, if you have a CPQ implementation where you define different rules and so on, you can drive your configuration on in a different sort of way in CPQ. You can, target price or target weight or target different optimizing features to drive your configuration. And then from that tool, you can integrate to Windchill and thus driving your configuration that way. So that's possible.
And we got a thumbs up from Livius from the previous question as well. And we have another question here. It's a two-part question. Let me see here. When a new variant is created, is a new part number created for that variant automatically, or could you manually select a number for that variant?
Well, when a new variant is created, as Windchill works, and this is configurable, but in the basic scenario, the top, the end item, that number is new. That's created new. But looking down, if you have multiple levels of configurable portions in your structure, it will reuse. If you have a module like I showed you here that is generated already and is existing, and that will be reused. If it doesn't exist, it will be generated and given a new number. But if a matching variant is existing, it will reuse. So it will reuse the building blocks of the variant. I hope that's understandable.
Excellent. And we will go for a last question here. Can I move variant specifics in the product family structure?
Yes, of course. That's a good question. So once you have created your structure, this will most likely change over time. So you can drag and drop your variant specifications between different model groups. So it's not written in stone. This evolves over time. So that's fully possible.
Excellent. So that was all of the questions. Thank you so much, Anders, for a fantastic webinar again.
Thank you. Hope you enjoyed it.
Yeah. And thank you, everybody, and happy holidays to everybody. We'll see you next time. Okay. Bye.
Take care.